After several years of making music, mixing all my songs but also mixing for other people in a lot of different genres, there is one technique that made me improve my mixes a lot, making them a lot cleaner, and yes, it fits in every song and genre. And of course, you can make it in any DAW and using any plugin you have. It doesn't matter if it's free or paid, and I'm gonna show you both versions. So first of all, what is the main thing you need to achieve when you're mixing a song? Getting enough space for each sound. If there's one sound that needs masking another one, the mix is not good or not as good as it could be. To achieve this, you can use a lot of different techniques. For example, you can use EQ. You cut the lows of the piano to give a space to the bass in the low range. You can also use reverb, so this way you push one sound behind another one. You can also play with the volumes because a sound that is louder is gonna feel closer to you, and if it's more quiet, it's gonna be more in the background. Or you can also play with panning and stereo to place each sound in different positions. But what if you do all of this and there's sounds that are still clashing? One sound still masks another one. Then this technique comes in and is sidechain EQ. The idea is that one sound triggers the EQ of another sound. For this technique, first I'm going to use Soothe, but don't worry, I'm going to show you a free way to do it later. To activate the sidechain function is Soothe, first you need to go to the mixer. And what I want is that the main vocal triggers the soothe of this piano. What you need to do is click on the main vocal, now go to the piano, here right click, and sidechain to this track. Now if we come back to the soothe of the piano, click here, here, processing, and here on sidechain input, if we right click, it's gonna show the main vocal. Now we can click on sidechain. So what this is gonna do is when the vocal plays, this soothe is going to get activated. So for example, right now, I can play the piano, and the soothe is not working, as you can see, because the vocal is not playing. But as soon as we activate the vocal, as you can see, it's getting activated. But we can improve this, of course. What I want here is that the vocal stands out more. That's why the vocal sidechains the piano and not the opposite way. The vocal is more present in the area of 1 and 4000 Hz. So I'm going to boost this here. More boost means more reduction. And also I'm going to have a bit around here on the body of the vocal. Usually for these kind of things, this is a bit exaggerated. So I'm going to reduce the sharpness a little bit. And maybe you can increase a bit the selectivity, so it's like only in the important moments it's going to get activated. And let's see what it does now.
Keep it coming, keep it coming.
Usually I don't recommend you going more than 3 dBs. If you have something like this, you're gonna start losing too much body of the piano. So you can just reduce the mix or reduce the depth. But the cool thing is that now, even if we have these reductions, we don't really realize about these reductions. Why? Because if we reduce, for example, 3 dBs in 1000 Hz of the piano, it's because the vocal is playing in those 1000 Hz and is covering that space. So when we hear the entire song, we don't really hear those reductions, but we're giving more space, in this case, to the vocal. But you can do this with any sound in the track. For example, the main vocal also goes to this bus of break that basically is all these sounds, including the piano. You can even take the main vocal and, for example, sidechain to these harmonies, so this way the harmonies give more space to the vocal. Or for example, here I have an impact sound that is sidechaining the res bass. Why? Because these two sounds are in a certain moment of the song, they are playing together and they are sharing the low end. So what I get is in the res bass, I'm reducing in this space, as you can see, a lot, because I need to give a lot of space for the impact, especially in the low end. And yes, you can do, for example, the kick to the res bass or the snares to the riser effects if it's masking them. You can do this with everything. But I know, maybe you don't have Soothe. What can you do? Just a normal EQ. Let's come back to the piano and the vocal. Now we don't need to sidechain it like this. What we need is a free TP controller in the vocal, and I call it piano so it's easier to recognize it. Then in the piano, I'm gonna have this parametric EQ, the stock EQ of FL Studio. What we want to do first in this EQ is to choose where we're going to get the reductions. I recommend you around the body of the vocal, that is around here, and in the presence area, that is around here. For the presence area, I like to go a bit wider, and for the body a bit more narrow, but that's a bit more personal taste. We can disable all of the others if you want to. And now what we want to do is right click here, this is the volume, link to controller, we click here and we look for the controller of the vocal. That's why I call it piano, so you recognize it better. And we're gonna choose the option peak. Now click here and invert it. We're gonna do the same thing with the other one. Now when we play it, this is at the top, as you can see, that's not good. We need to control the bass, as you can see, and for the parametric EQ, if you put this at 0.5 or 50%, just type in value 0.5, this at 0. Right now, if we play it, that's a bit too aggressive. I like to have another band here, just to check the volume. I like to reduce like 2-3 dBs. So I'm gonna try that these two bands don't go farther than this. They go too much. So what I need to do is to reduce the volume here. A bit more. That's good. Now I remove this one. So now same thing as before, when the vocal plays, this is gonna get reduced. For example, I like to use it in this way in the breakdown with the kick and the bass. I reduce in the bass line like between 120 Hz to 0 when the kick plays. So this way I get a clean kick, it has sidechain, but it's not that aggressive than using, for example, kickstart. So well, I hope you learned something today. Remember to leave a like, subscribe, and see you in the next video.